Astralis to face Fnatic. I gotta say, I thought the first series might have lasted a little longer.
We did have a pause in it.
We
to help out.
Yeah, that helped. That made it a little longer, but overall, yeah, quick work by Vitality.
Yeah, I mean, they looked absolutely fantastic. I think drafting definitely a big issue coming into game number 2 still again, and Vitality just have to play through the strengths of it.
Yeah, and I think once again, like at first they were like on the first game they had, Mad Lions were red side, they were banning the Sejuani and the Vi. Maokai came through, they still opted in for Lucian Nami. No lockdown, they could have gone Seri. Going into the second fake game, they banned Seri themselves. First pick Vi, which I am heavily against when the likes of Xayah, Sivir still exist, and even Tahm Kench, as we've started seeing in the East as well. I think it's a trap that you can't allow yourself to fall into, because even if you do get ahead with the Vi, it becomes so difficult to play the game.
And completely outplayed both in draft and in game by Vitality. So now we're going to see who is going to play Vitality on Monday, the winner of Fnatic versus Astralis. Now, Astralis had a choice here. They could pick to play Mad Lions or Fnatic, but they picked Fnatic. I wonder if they're going to regret it after they play today, after what they saw from the first game.
It's actually kind of interesting, because when you watch Fnatic and Astralis at the end of week 3, I thought Fnatic actually had a pretty good read of Astralis. Like, they were actually, one of the things Astralis does a lot is they will drop a wave and just play off of 2 or even 1 lane and just very quickly look to overload it. I think Fnatic did a relatively good job of like trying to counteract that at times, but then they got the lead and then it fell apart in the mid game.
Yeah,
so maybe that's what's given Astralis their thought process.
The fact that the mid lane macro was so poor from Fnatic when they were playing against them, they essentially refused to take Herald, couldn't open mid lane turret, and couldn't play the side lane composition they drafted for themselves. And when you play against Astralis, you want to be able to win a side lane win condition, because leader is playing Zed, all these champions that's popping out there. But I also think, in terms of the names we're looking at, I think Astralis might have been anticipating that during a week break, who's going to improve the most, Mad Lions or Fnatic? And I'll be honest, I thought Mad Lions would have looked scarier in a week run as well, compared to Fnatic that had been struggling but was ramping up.
We'll see if it's a poison pick from Astralis or if they had the right read. But let's talk about Astralis a little bit, and the fact that they ended up at the top of the table thanks to the introduction of Leader, someone who has had a couple of tries in LEC already or in the EU LCS in the past, but now has found a fantastic performance within Astralis that has seemingly elevated the whole practices of Astralis.
It's definitely kind of shaped how Astralis want to try and play their early stages. I love the fact that he's taking these aggressive picks in the mid lane, and then we're seeing, okay, let's just look for skirmishes. Let's see if you can find fights at Dragons, at Heralds, or even if you can get Leader to come topside with us. And it means that for Astralis, they're starting to get their foundation in the early stages that they can then propel themselves forward into, as Guldborg was kind of alluding to, like Leader playing these side lanes.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, because it's not necessarily the fact that Leader now needs a lot of resources. He's still getting them from 1-1-3. But in the past, there's like, we have to play for Leader in the mid lane, we have to get him on Aurelia, and we just have to make it work. That's not the same Leader we're seeing now. We're actually seeing a Leader who can be adaptive with what he's bringing to the team. And I think that's really been the big redemption story for him coming into LEC again.
Oh, absolutely. I love the video we had, the hype video for this week, in which Leader was saying there's a lot of people here that have so much to prove. And I think 113 is a great example who, you know, we need to give credit to the coaching staff as well, the way he's developing as a jungler. The example of Kobbe, who is someone who's been here forever and is now peaking again,
Phenomenal.
Which is crazy. Like, everything has to go right for that to happen. And of course, Leader at the center of all of it. We have some insane Irelia moves from Leader in the clip we're about to show you in general from solo queue. But yeah, it's the way some players can evolve and work in a team atmosphere, whereas to some just stay stagnant.
I think the big one is kind of Guldborg was saying, is that we can get him looking absolutely fantastic on his picks we expect from Leader, right? The Zeds, the Aurelia in this clip. But I think the fact he's bringing out things like the Annie and kind of catching people off guard with the fact that he can bring out these control mages and still have massive impacts, I think it's kind of putting to bed this whole Leader only plays melee assassins. It's like you can
this play as well just went completely viral too, and that's the thing, right? Because in the past it was a liability that this happened. Now it's suddenly a strength that the enemy team can no longer just say, let's have a control mage because Leader will bring this out. And you can't just lock something in expecting Leader to go for what, but you still have to fear it. And that's what we so often see against Astralis.
And of course, one of the big things we were talking about earlier is the fact that, well, now we got AP top laners. Now you got Rumbles, the Gwens, the Kennons that can come through.
Yeah.
And if Leader wants to go for these picks, he's only facilitated even more by the fact that Finn can bring out some of these stranger picks in the top side.
Yeah, indeed. Also, the patch is helping them out, perhaps. And I love that we're talking about Astralis very clearly as favorites in the matchup against the Fnatic. A Fnatic that had A very dramatic split, we have to say. Started off horribly, 0-4, then 1-4 in a row. Eventually ended up losing to Astralis, but still making it actually quite comfortably if you look at the scoreline to the group stage, something that they weren't able to do back in winter. So what improvements did we see, and are they going to stand in the best of threes?
I think one of the big things was kind of the drafts we saw coming through. I think that was something that Guldborg was kind of talking about extensively earlier on. The fact that they were able to read their opponents and then bring out a lot of these answers very quickly.
Yeah, I think one thing as well was suddenly teams started giving Fnatic their comfort picks because Fnatic has been kind of easy to read. And I'll be honest, when they first started their win streak with the first game they won against Team Heretics, that gameplay was actually terrible. It was not good, but it was enough for them suddenly to come together, get some confidence, and then continue with it. They kept building on their victory after victory to the point where they could even go up against G2 and take that game. So Fnatic actually quite quickly developed as a team.
And I think the drafts definitely helped them out substantially in reading how they could try and fight against their opponents and then play around a mid-game where they could look for team fights at Dragons and all this. But I definitely want to put a bit of a break on this to a certain extent as well, because I still think we're not seeing a huge amount of proactivity from them, and I think that's where I want to see something a little bit more from Razork coming into these drafts.
Yeah, so actually I made a Fnatic ideal team composition. This is not a team comp they have played, it might have been, I didn't really check, but this is when they looked their best, okay? Oscar on something that can either be someone you play for or self-sufficient. It's these AD bruisers up towards the top side. In the jungle as well, you have Razork with the Vi, Sejuani, Wukong, level 6 power spike that allows you to be aggressive.
Humanoid just as ear.
No, so the thing is, this is interesting, right? Because Humanoid is the best player that can play everything, but for the team for Fnatic, they struggle when he's not on a control mage that allows them to play through the priority he gets in mid lane. That's what we saw against Astralis when he played the LeBlanc last time. They couldn't really get through it. For Rekkles, an AD carry with self-heal and wave clear, and Advienne, get the man on engage. This is Fnatic at their best, and they've been very good at drafting towards it.
Also, just on the Xayah pick, 13.6, we saw the Nashor's Tooth buff. His W net max is now actually really, really strong with that Nashor's Tooth rush. So I'm curious to see if we do see a bit of a mix-up if we get that pick for Humanoid. But I do agree. I think the fact that, look, leave Humanoid to have the scaling pick in the mid lane, but make sure you can actually get some proactivity around the rest of your lanes.
And the question is, Astralis, who picked them apart when they played them at the end of spring, will Astralis be able to do that again, or do Fnatic have enough aces up their sleeve? Let's find out with Caedrel and Drakos.
Thank you very much, Sjokz. I'm excited to find out as well. Welcome to Cash Desk. As Sjokz mentioned, I'm Drakos. This is Caedrel. It's been a while since we've cast. I missed you on Euphoria.
How long has it been? 2 weeks?
2 weeks. That's a long time for us.
It is. Normally we see each other every day, every other day, every weekend. We spend our weekends together.
It's true.
At the caster desk.
Yes, we do. And it's a great thing to have. Fnatic and Astralis now going to spend their weekend together as well.
Do you know what happened in the pregame lobby?
Yes, I do.
Johnson
I do. I want the secret juice that only we as casters in this lobby can share with the world.
Finn linked the YouTube video to Fnatic.
Yes.
It was a 1-hour version of Malphite saying, "You will lose." I know.
We'll find out if you can make good on that commitment. It's time for Picks and Bans.
Straight off that, they all called each other handsome, so I don't really know what's going on here.
It's mixed signals. Just like, never mind, I can make that reference.
Nope.
Anyway, here we go.
From Humanoid, yeah, one of his favorite champions. Azir is also a champ that's been taken away. Humanoid has 8 games on Azir. Everything else, he's got 2 maximum. But of course, Azir is really hard to play at the moment after the nerfs. So we'll see what direction they decide to go in. No bot lane bans just yet, other than the Annie Flex. Zeri still open. Vi, there's the Vi taken away, which means maybe Astralis is looking for a Zeri.
A lot open at this particular moment. And I think when you look at this matchup, Kobbe and JeongHoon, I think favored on the bottom side of the map. So see what Fnatic want to take away. For now, it is just the Rakan, leaving the AD carry pool up and available. Wow. Xayah, remember, not only was she nerfed a little bit, but also core itemization nerfed in the Nagori quick plates. Despite that, you saw in the previous game, still incredibly impactful. But that means giving up the Varus, generally considered the strongest laning AD in the meta right now.
We are going quick here, aren't we? And Varus actually pretty good into Xayah in terms of lane because you can poke her out. Astralis need to look for some kind of gap close here, some kind of engage on that Varus you have to expect. There's a Sejuani that would do pretty well. Oftentimes you see things like Cassante here flexed on 3, but we've got Astralis, and I think they lean towards more assassin-type champions. With Jace taken away, that hurts this poke idea that Fnatic are trying to incorporate. Maybe they'll pick support on 3. Could be something that helps bot lane.
Could try front to back with on-hit Varus, but against something like a Yone with so much range, with so many tools to get onto the back line, that doesn't feel quite as good. Like seeing the Yone come out blind for leader, normally pretty risky, but you've seen Yone just generally strong on the patch, synergize as well with the Sejuani, makes a lot of sense.
And that's the reason they banned LeBlanc, I think. They wanted to pick Yone on the 1-2-3. Jax picked up here for Fnatic. Oscar can target ban out Finn if he wants to remove things like I don't know, the Gragas, perhaps, to stop the nullifying effect, even a Sion if he just wants to get more of a melee bruiser matchup. Malphite does fit the bill. Astralis need to get a couple more melee champions here. That Yone could be a flex, but I do expect it going to leader's hands. Finn has got a plethora of melee AD champions he can play top, from Renekton to Fiora to Cassante. Don't think he'll struggle to find it. I wonder if Astralis might lack a little bit of ability power.
Certainly could be the case. Yone does a small amount of magic damage, but not nearly enough to take the role of a traditional mage. And with the Maokai already locked in on the opposite side, with the Jax as well, two champions who can get very tanky very quickly as the game goes on, it's something to worry about. The Braum now taken off the board as well, so limiting front-to-back options for the side of Fnatic.
I wonder if Kennen is a good ban here for Fnatic. They've gone for the Gragas instead. Actually, Kennen's already banned. Yeah, nice point out there. I didn't see that. So they're targeting AP champions in the top side, and the one that's open is Gwen, but Gwen really struggles against Jax, so I think Fnatic knew that going into this with the Kennen ban, they were going to pick Jax on 3, they were going to ban away 2 AP champs if they pick an AD mid, and now I wonder what Finn can dig for.
And interesting that Astralis obviously had the opportunity to take away any of the answers into Yone that they were worried about, but instead opted for 2 support bans. So giving a lot of that respect over to Kobbe and JeongHoon's decent option, but what is the support pick going to be here? Will they blind support or save last pick for Advienne? Would love to just see a mid lane answer here.
Feel like with Braum banned, Nautilus is actually a pretty good blind. Looks like they're going to go Lissandra into it, looking for a lot of team fight here, Fnatic. Now Astralis, the biggest question is how do they round this out? Do they go for melee support, something like Nautilus or something like Thresh to help get in there? Could even go towards something like Leona, also works. Don't want to over-index too much on heavy CC.
Yeah, definitely Merc Treads are already going to feel fantastic against this Fnatic lineup. Not a ton of knockbacks or knock-ups, but a lot of CC that is vulnerable to tenacity. So GP, wow, could be a big Merc Treads game. But there's the GP locked in, so something to kind of punish, I think, this Varus pick overall is an immobile AD carry. He's incredibly vulnerable to barrel chains and to the Gangplank ultimate as we get later into the game.
Yeah, I don't think there's any sweat in picking Leona blind here because of the Braum ban. That's normally the counter, and I don't know if they can pick a range support here, Fnatic. It just feels like the game is going to be way too skirmish heavy. Tahm Kench is something they could look into. I think LCK has been playing a lot of Tahm Kench. We've seen Delight and Gen G. Keria was playing it as well. Yep. It's risen in priority as something to protect your AD carry, because I feel like the meta right now is your top side 3 champions of top jungle and mid are just all dive heavy all the time. It's very rare you see mages. It's very Lissandra, Ahri, LeBlanc meta. So you do want to have a support that can help you out. Astralis, really good team fight, really good scaling as well. Couple of losing lanes, yes, maybe, but they'll look to start skirmishes in the river around 5-10 minutes in the game. Fnatic, great team fight as well. A little bit of poke with Varus, but they lack DPS if Oscarinin falls. I feel like they're more of a burst-heavy comp otherwise.
And we'll have to see what Rekkles wants to build here. I'm inclined to think that it has to be lethality just because there's not going to be a lot of room to auto-attack. I feel like if you have space to auto-attack as Varus, you've probably already won the fight from the side of Fnatic, so would love to see that poke as much as it's been nerfed over the years so consistently, but need to see what the execution is going to look like early to mid-game. Ready to see if the Tahm Kench is going to be the answer that they need to keep Rekkles safe, as well as what they need to keep pressure in the lane. Obviously, can out-trade the Leona, but can't really out-engage her, especially as we get past level 6.
Yeah, junglers is where I need to keep our eyes on. These are 2 most proactive junglers we've got here in the league. So they're definitely going to be looking for early plays. Wouldn't even be surprised to see some kind of level 2 gang top in that matchup. Gonna have to be careful, these top laners. Just about ready to get into game here. And nice little important game to boost one of these teams into the next round. Of course, if you lose 2, you're out.
Yep. Ready to see it. You said it. 1-1-3 versus Razork in the early game. We know how quickly these games get out of hand as early as level 2. Have to keep our eyes on both sides in both jungles to find out where the pass will take them, which lanes they want to focus around, which lanes they want to support here as we get ready. Astralis versus Fnatic. Well, the Berlin crowd seems to have picked a side here in this matchup. have to see if their faith is well placed as we get later into this game. For now, on the top side, a bit of battle of barrels as Finn and Oscarinin are staring each other down.
Yeah. I think GP just wants to trade really heavy early with the Qs, of course, running the first strike, not the grasp. GP got a little bit hit with the grasp changes to his Q, which made him a little bit less oppressive, but still can do so much damage in the later stages. I think GP is always good against immobile AD carries, right? Varus, Xayah, Jhin, these champions that can't really get out of your ult, and you can gap close much easier with a slow.
And that's not a comment. That's not a Hail of Blades, that's a lethal tempo on the bottom side. And while a longsword start could still indicate poke, I'm suspecting that we're going to have an on-hit Varus here. So again, if Rekkles gets the space to work and he has the items to do damage, he is going to shred through the entire Astralis lineup. But this is not an easy team if we get to 5v5s to get space against. There's so many long-range tools to stop you from being able to just fight.
So the reason I don't like it, I'll hold my breath for a second as JeongHoon is trading with Advienne. The reason I don't really like it much is because they've got very hybrid damage sources. Jax, Maokai, Lissandra, Tahm have a lot of AP damage sources. I think having a lethality champ fits in nice, but this does give them a bit more DPS when it comes down to rushing Barons. Flash forward.
Full confidence there as they go in on Advienne. But trading Flash and Ignite for just Flash. If we get jungle attention down here on the bottom side, that could be a big advantage for Astralis. But right now, they're just down a summoner. They have, however, gained a bit of lane prio.
So JeongHoon there was just trying to force Advienne back so they could contest the wave, so they could get level 2 first, I think. Wonder if he's going to go for a Hex Flash on this next melee creep. Look for an all-in. But yeah, no Flash. See if they can get jungle down here. Here comes a level 2, and they can match Fnatic on the level 2 as well. I think that's what JeongHoon was afraid of. Eyes on 113. He's going to finish the Raptors, get level 3, and then probably move into bot side jungle. Maybe he knows it's warded there, so the Q over the wall here can do wonders.
Here we go.
In terms of getting into Razork's jungle. Now, what damage can he do? There's a ward that will spot out JeongHoon on the move.
113 emote of the week, dabbing Penguin. Is he going to be dabbing after this one, though, as JeongHoon goes forward onto Rekkles? Gets the cleanse out and the flash.
That was way too defensive from Rekkles. He didn't even know what Xayah had there. If she had the pullback, he could cleanse it away. I feel like maybe a bit too scared. 113.
Take the camp, get the stun, instant follow-up. Razork now going to be in trouble, zooming out of there. Courtesy of the phase rush, otherwise he might have just died.
Yeah, he's really low. He wants to get towards his blue.
Just keeps coming.
Big pressure from 113. Advienne's leaning to help, but both bot lanes have no flash, so if they go too deep, JeongHoon can collapse. He's ganking them behind. Is he hiding
But this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of situation. He can just walk up here and they have to walk away from the tower and they can't approach the wave. This is so obnoxious. And Rekkles, where's he going to go? He doesn't have a cleanse. They're just going to burn him down on the bottom side of the map. That is first blood for Astralis.
What an absolute disaster. He's lost so many minions now, Rekkles. That's 2 or 3 waves down the drain. His summoners are gone. He's level 2. First blood to the Xayah. It's almost 800 gold lead. 1.1 in total in bot side in the first 3 minutes. It's not gone right there, but you can see Astralis fighting to get the push with that early flash.
And if this feels familiar, it should, because the last time these two teams played against each other, Kobbe was a monster. Kobbe was a big problem for Fnatic, and despite some early success on the top side of the map, he ended up being unstoppable in this game. And here we have it, just like it was in Week 3, Day 3, that once again, the bot lane of Astralis taking over with the help of their jungler.
Definitely probably one of the best AD carries we've got in the league right now. He's just performing so well in this Astralis lineup. Top wave stacking for Oscar. See if they want to look to crash it and try to dive. It would be really hard to get that wave in. It's in a good spot for him. No need to overforce. And Razork will put a pink down and back away. There was pings on one of the waves. This mid wave coming in now, there was pings from Astralis. I wonder if a leader was saying, I need a help on this wave, or Humanoid needs to push this out. Can we look for a gank? But as Humanoid steps up, the jungle support are running towards the bot side of the map instead. Maybe the Sejuani Leona can look for a kill onto the Varus. Look for a dive. It's not been spotted yet. No summoners, only Ignite up for Advienne. See if they can get the wave in, because he must be calling for something here.
Rinse and repeat. Oh, falling behind like this.
He's going to Q over the wall, I think. He's going to get level 4 off of this and maybe look to Q over the wall. See if Razork spots him. I think the wave's coming into Astralis, but they've definitely got a play set up here. Just depends if the Maokai sees him.
And this has to be so frustrating for Fnatic. We talked about it on Euphoria, you weren't there, but they talked about how 113, crazy pathing the early game. Rekkles and he used to be teammates, he knows all about it, and despite knowing all about it, once again, he's managed to pull it off in the early game where he's just living on the bottom side of the jungle. And while these are two of our most active junglers in the league, as we see a bit of trading here, notice how far behind 113 falls, and it's because he's willing to just sit in enemy jungle and go for these crazy kind of plays, and it's paying off in a big way. And while his numbers are suffering, you can see how much bigger Kobbe's CS differences are going to be, how much bigger the XP difference is going to be just because of the time he's spending on bottom side.
It's so obnoxious. I remember playing in 2019 against a jungler called Mowgli who played for Vitality. He would just do red buff, walk into your jungle, and stand there and look at you for 4 minutes.
Yeah, we called it psychopathing on the desk because he would literally just, fight you at every camp.
And then he won Worlds as a coach last year, so, I mean, he instills that mindset. 113's definitely got that gameplay. You can see he just does a couple camps, runs into your jungle, puts wards down, shows a few times, it makes it look like there's a play happening. And what happens is your laners get worried, so they come to you to help you out, and they lose the push. So what you're doing is you're being a magnet for the enemy laners, and it gives your laners the push, so they can just keep mid push, they can keep bot push, and they're constantly scared of this jungler just sitting there.
Yeah, and now you can see 1K individual gold lead for Kobbe. 30 CS lead 6 minutes into the game. This is a disaster, and you have to wonder if the uncertainty on that bottom side of the map is why Rekkles on that first engage forward or second engage forward from JeongHoon immediately flashed cleanse. Maybe expected 113 to be there, you know, maybe just scared of what was going to happen. Ultimately, burning both those sums ends up being a death sentence in the end. Now they get the Drake, and the thing is, bot lane smashing and top lane is scaling, so you're just living your best life.
You really are. Wave's gonna crash. Big CS lead on bot side right now for Kobbe. And I wonder what they're gonna do with this, because Herald's up in 1 minute. Do they move up and try to look for a lane swap? They have GP ult that's already been used now. I think he just used it top to get that wave in. Oscar is gonna be able to hold it just outside the tower range, so that's gonna be nice. Razork's gonna get this blue buff. Not close to level 6 just yet though, but you can see JeongHoon is moving up. Will get spotted.
Yep. 113 now walking forward. JeongHoon, as you highlighted, has been spotted. Sapling will spot 113, so not too much concern here as Humanoid can just get the Frozen Claw out to safety. Leader just getting a bit aggressive. And Humanoid on playmakers, you know, I've gotten used to seeing on the Azir, as we've highlighted so many times. But on playmakers, he can be the guy who builds these leads, who starts to turn this game around. I think the struggle is, when you look at the mid-jungle here, they don't have a lot of upfront damage, you know, compared to the opposite side. Yeah, like, leader on one item, he can kill Razork and Humanoid with a combo if he's got the backup.
Yeah. Same damage share mid-jungle really stings. Normally with Lissandra, you want Wukong, Lee Sin.
Yep.
You want like a Vi, something that can follow up, get some nice burst in there. But yeah, Maokai, Lissandra is not great in locking down a target.
And the good news for them is that leader went Berserkers. And it makes sense, because again, this is one of the best times in the game for either of the brothers, Yone and Yasuo. But if he had tenacity, he would actually be unkillable in that lane.
He would. And that's the problem. I think Fnatic's damage share is a little bit all over the place. If they didn't have the lethality on the Varus, we'll see how it pans out. They do have a lot of DPS, and they will shred through neutrals. Just the question is, can they get to those neutrals? Right now, Oscar's doing a great job, though, being able to get that CS lead in top. He's going to be forced to run back now, though, without that teleport, so Finn might get a plate or two.
Positive sign to shift the gold lead, and GP, obviously, gold numbers are kind of fake for this champion, because part of the strength of his kit is that he just gets more income. But despite the CS advantage that Oscarinin has been able to build, the plate and the additional gold from the creeps from the parlay and the first strike. So he's really just making money here.
Yeah, he is. 400 gold lead. I think there's a big play in the next minute for Astralis. What will happen is 113 will get his top camps down. He'll either base or he'll run bot side. GP ult as well. I think they have a 4-man dive angle with a global ult and a Herald on Fnatic's bot lane if they're not careful. Their window is before Tahm Kench. It's level 6, obviously, so we'll see if Astralis find that. Leader's just trying to push Humanoid back right now. Has no TP just yet, and of course he can afford to do things like this because he has lifesteal.
Yeah, now is where the lane gets very obnoxious for Humanoid. He does not have the luxury of the same sustain. They're probably going to donate this fruit over to him. And if you can't kill him in the all-in, you're not going to outpoke this champion in lane.
Fnatic are aware of this 4-man bot play with the global. Razork trying to defend it.
Ulti now going forward. Leader ready. At a moment's notice, he can just leap in and ult, looking for the lineup. Now dashing forward, but he's not going to connect whatsoever. Do they have enough damage to burn through the Yone? They do not yet. Leader now going in, going to finish off the kill. And just like that, Advienne in the midst of everybody. They can't quite burn through the Alpha. Rekkles over the wall. Rekkles could be massive. The kill back. Will it be enough? 113 now chasing onto Humanoid. Humanoid flashing out to safety. Just getting a bit of a slow back onto the remaining members of Astralis. So far, 1 for 1.
Oh, Fnatic managed to respond, but the health bars are blinking. They get out. Humanoid will be able to catch this wave. Leader will lifesteal and has the red buff to regen, so might need to be careful here, Humanoid. Advienne's wondering if there's some kind of dive happening, just trying to cover his mid laner. But Astralis... Oh, here it comes, Leader.
Dash in,
No way.
damage, auto Q. Easy!
Easy does it. Leader showing up once again on these playmakers. Disrespect from Humanoid. He's there to punish it. That was a 1-2-3 Yone in the draft. No fear whatsoever. Just blind picks it and it's working.
And the counter coming out, while it's good at surviving, obviously not great in those individual duels, so a bit difficult here. Full confidence from JeongHoon.
Yeah. Gets the Glacial Augment down, Razork tries to flash away, stuns him on it, and then Leader misses the ult here. I think he didn't have E up, so
he was on cooldown.
Yeah, he was on cooldown, but I think about here it comes up again, so he can E flash Q auto, gets that kill, and then Advienne's over the wall thinking we need to get something here. Rekkles comes around the side, misses the Q onto JeongHoon, but manages to get the kill with the E anyway. So it's not the end of the world. Kobbe used his ult for avoiding that. Humanoid flashes away. A lot of summoners burnt on both sides, but you can see Astralis is just etching ahead now. They've still got the Herald, and Kobbe is going to get another plate.
And this is big. Again, not only is there a massive advantage on the bottom side of the map, still Kobbe holding on to 1K despite Rekkles getting that kill, just the difference of plates and CS at this stage. But Leader also wildly far ahead. They can full commit here, but he can just instantly go back with the Unstoppable. Now they need to follow up. They need to burn everything to take out this Yone. Kill the Yone is the name of the game, and they are going to make it happen. But Humanoid has now been locked up, swallowed up though, and he will not go down as Advienne is there to save the day.
Shut down onto Leader. Advienne picked it up, which stings a bit, but Fnatic managed to get that kill. Astralis were hovering for a bot play. It looked like they wanted to put the Herald down, but 113 and JeongHoon move up. Maybe Leader wants to all in on the wave, wanted to take the 3v3, but ultimates are on cooldown, and they weren't up for the exchange. Fnatic come out ahead. Kobbe is still going to get this bot tower, but I think this was the play from the very start. 1-3 still not dropped the Herald. Maybe he's going around to place it just to make sure he's safe. The Herald's safe, and they can get this first tower blood, but it does make Kobbe a bit unsure whether he can walk up.
8 seconds on his ultimate. Would be more comfortable to approach them. Rekkles already has his ultimate. You've got two members hovering around on the bottom side, but as long as Astralis aren't going to try to pull the trigger on the dive, it looks like Fnatic are okay to just let them fight over the CS.
Ooh, Rekkles, no ward in that bush. Hex flash over. Might have to use his flash here.
Spotted out ulti. Is going to connect. Instant cleanse.
Yep.
Quick reaction there from Rekkles. Not going to get taken out.
No Leona ult. Can't land the slow, so he'll get out alive. Does he get the Herald down?
Oh no! He mistimed on the auto.
Auto didn't come out in time. Didn't manage to get it down. Astralis will get the Dragon off that. 2 Dragons, 12 minutes, 30 seconds into the game. They could be looking at a Soul in around 10 minutes time. It's only Cloud though. We'll see how they move their bot lane around the map now. They could put GP towards the bot side. Let's watch Finn on the minimap here. Looks like he is running down there, so they're going to swap the Xayah top and try to force down this next tower.
Oh, what? Whoop. That.
Happy little accent.
No one saw that, Leader. Don't worry. No one saw you E into the wall, Q into the wall, and then walk back to lane.
Fnatic didn't see it, so as long as he keeps playing with confidence,
no idea.
They don't know that he's made these mistakes. So now here comes the shift up. See what Fnatic does about it, because Rekkles is pushing out bot. See if he decides to take a base and match, but Oscar has been getting a small CS lead. Hasn't really mattered though, like you said, first strike in the plates are enough to put Finn ahead.
And normally, if we kept this 1v1 going, maybe he would be able to pull ahead in this. You know, Divine Sunder are a lot more laning sustain than something like the Essence Reaver, but they've swapped the lanes. They put Kobbe up in top lane against Oscarinin, and it's not really so easy to go in onto that Xayah. It could be a death sentence if there's anyone else waiting in the darkness, and there is indeed, as JeongHoon and the rest of the team setting up some vision control on the top side.
See those 2 pinks on the entrances are just doing so much work for Astralis right now. And I need to group up and sweep this out, but Rekkles is still bot. Need him to base, get Oscar down there, get Rekkles back up here and get rid of these pinks, but looking for a cheeky play there. Oscar is going to dodge the stun.
Follow up, they're still going to go for the play anyway, just try to burn through the Ignite already ticking. That's so much damage, there's so much follow up. Look at the confidence. All of Astralis stepping forward, but Oscar staying alive for now.
JeongHoon is going on the first target that appears in his sights. Whether it's Razork, whether it's Advienne, whether it's Oscar, he's just jumping straight on top of them, dropping the Ignite and forcing them back. Manages to get his flash. Has the TP here, Oscar, so he should be able to get back to bot tier 2 in time. I wonder if he TPs to it. That's a pretty big wave. Underneath the tower, Kobbe still has the ult though. Rekkles no cleanse. Looks like they'll have a bit of control while 113 clears out his camps.
Yeah, good for Kobbe. Able to step up here, despite being at a man disadvantage, just because he has all the summoners and the ulti up and available. Even if he did burn the Gale Force on the previous play. Got Oscarinin's flash, which is a big deal.
So what's the next play? Looks like Herald is. Fnatic trying to get some vision around it. 113 is going to start it up. That ward doing a lot of work to spot out the jungle support. It'll now get pinked. And now Oscar needs to be ready for the TP. Very close to that level 11. He probably wants to push out another minion before he does. TP in. Astralis needs to be clean on the turn here. JeongHoon doesn't have ult for another 10-15 seconds.
Leader Q stacked, waiting to use it. Ulti now coming in just to create some space. Finn throwing down his ult on the backside. Leader waiting, fishing for an angle here. He's going to go in, he's going to connect up to 3. Leader immediately now fishing for the follow-up. Humanoid going to ult himself to try to stay alive. The stun is going to come through in the final moments. 113 going to land that one, and now immediately to turn and burn back. Oscarinin and the rest of the Fnatic backline standing strong. Not getting caught up in it, and that's the kill back. Razork, he smells the blood in the water. He wants more for the team, but it's Kobbe versus the world now. The flash backwards, trying to finish Oscarinin, but just ticking health bar, blinking as he goes sub at 100 health, but manages to survive.
3 for 1 for Fnatic. How did they pull that out? JeongHoon and leaders engaged, looked really good on the backline, but there was moments almost where you could take a breath where nothing was happening. Fnatic's health bars weren't going down. Let's look at it again. Finn drops the ultimate, tries to look for barrels off to the side. Watch the turn from JeongHoon and Leader here. How many targets they landed on? Ult comes out onto Oscar from 113. There's the E-flash, there's the ult.
Only hits one.
And now watch the health bars of Fnatic, because you think, wow, the divers are on top of them. Kobbe gets a great ult and a pullback. Surely they should all just get melted here, but it's just JeongHoon dealing damage. Leader gets pulled back as 113's rooted and does as much burst as possible. Finn flashes forward and stopwatches to buy time. Then the only remaining damage is Kobbe. Oscar drops the E. Make sure he's alive. Razork re-engages it, and then front to back they win. Again, Kobbe can't get Razork. Then he tries to get Oscar with the E-flash, but he also lives on 1 HP, so unlucky for Kobbe not to pick up a couple kills there. Maybe a few more crits, and he had it.
And right there, I think we saw a lot of AoE just coming out from the Fnatic composition. Rekkles' ult hitting so many people, and while initially it looked like Leader had a good ult, ultimately I think he only hit Humanoid, who's immediately able to self-ult there and stop any fallout from coming through. And that's a pretty big deal, because again, if Rekkles can get ahead, if Oscarinin can get ahead, those are really the tools that you need to win this game.
And theoretically, if you're diving onto these champions, the more people around Jax, the more resistances he's going to get. The Lissandra has a self-ult and probably a stopwatch soon. The Tahm Kench can eat Varus.
And yeah, on-hit Varus is essentially a DPS check. You either one-shot him, or he's going to kill everybody. This champion does so much damage with this build if he is left unattended in a fight. And Astralis burned everything they had just getting into range of Rekkles, but the second Leader's ult didn't connect. They couldn't stop Rekkles from just auto-attacking throughout that entire fight.
I think Astralis need to look at these team fights and try to problem solve it a bit. It looks like diving onto the carries is a mistake. One has a self-ult, one has a Tahm Kench. I think they're going to have to burn through frontline, you know? They're going to have to dive on top of the Tahm Kench and Maokai and then play off of just single kills and take it slow, because right now this dive just feels really hard. Unless they catch someone sleeping. They have got the chain CC for that 10 seconds on the Dragon. We'll put them on soul point. Finn's moving down without the TP. Oscar is as well. Leader's off to the side. They're popping in the Herald, but I'm not sure if that's going to crash. Fnatic might be able to stop that looking at Razork's position if they walk up a bit.
They want it off to the side. They're just trying to zone them away. Everything in on the Humanoid. They need one shot before he gets a chance to ultimate, but no, Advienne is there. They take him over the wall with the Yone on. That means Humanoid makes it out to safety. Herald will charge through, but that is frustrating for the side of Astralis. The CC layering not quite perfect.
This could be a big mistake here for Astralis if they think they can fight this Dragon. Humanoid has TP and he still has ult. I wonder if they remember that the ult wasn't used. They need to be really careful here. Kobbe, no cleanse. He could get chain CC'd and melted through, but they tried to dive onto Lissandra. They don't have the damage to get him down. Here's the TP. Here's the ult
coming in. JeongHoon knows that they immediately have to pull the trigger, trying to burn through the Tahm Kench. Oscarinin off to the side. Counter-strike, getting ready to come out now. As Humanoid right behind Kobbe, ready to line up all the damage, but no one's there for the follow-up. So for now, Kobbe stands. Kobbe still throwing out autos left and right, but it does not matter. In goes Oscarinin, in go Fnatic, and the snares are beautiful, but they will not finish the job as Leona not quite going to come through on the Frozen Thrall.
They fell for the bait. Fnatic gave up a little bit of mid-push. Astralis thought they could take it and move into the pit with Leader's TP and force another 5v5, but Humanoid TP's behind them, still has that ultimate. I think he even misplayed it a little bit. He could have just straight up ulted Kobbe, but he went for himself just because he was a bit scared of the burst coming through. But either way, they get the kills they wanted. No shutdown on Kobbe yet, though. See how much he can do when he gets that second item in base. Leader's going to TP and get that top tier 1 as a response. Gold is now evened up, but you can see the way these team fights are going. It's so hard for Astralis to actually find the right target. Oscar is just really fed now. That makes it even harder to find Jax. So everything committed onto Humanoid, but not enough damage.
Watch Leader's ultimate here. This sucks for Leader because he takes him over the wall into Advienne's range.
Yeah.
That is so frustrating.
I think if Advienne got to the wall, he'd have the range anyway, but it also took him out of the Leona E, so JeongHoon couldn't get on top of him to stun on top of it. A couple of seconds there maybe would have changed the fight, but here Astralis think, well, Lissandra's base, no ult perhaps, TP's right behind them. Kobbe has no cleanse. They think they can turn away from the TP because they don't have enough time to run. And here, flash W, ult comes from Kobbe. I think Humanoid could have just ulted Kobbe here, but he was a bit scared of getting bursted down. The slow was enough, not to get him, but to get the other two next to him. Good knock-up. Finishes the kills.
Massive. And of course, once Lissandra finds that first kill and these thralls start coming out, it could be big, but here we go. One more engage in the mid lane. JeongHoon now locked up. Humanoid falling left with a little bit of damage, but Leader now looking for the ult to the backside. He's not going to get the connection. He's going to be forced to leave immediately. 1-1-3 taken out. But now it's Oscar! Into 4 members, straight into the back line. Unkillable as Razork wants to keep the play going, but I think he's overextended. He's overstayed his welcome. That final tower shot, not quite enough. Locket coming in clutch. It is neck and neck in these fights. The gold dead even. Yes, Fnatic are winning in kills, but now everything is tied up.
The amount of times Fnatic have gotten away with a slither of health under 5% is incredible to me. Astralis, are they going to force a Baron here? They have the damage for it. I think they are probably threatening it to keep Fnatic on the map. Not
Leader
going to go towards it, though.
Shield bow plus the BF sword. You've got Navori for Kobbe, maybe, but I just don't think it's an option at this stage.
They were trying to catch Fnatic sleeping, right? You think that the 4-man is going to base, that's it, the play's over. But if they could get to Nash without Fnatic having vision, that would have been an easy sneak. They would have lost mid tower for it, but it was good to try. Needs a base now, though. But you can see this Tahm Kench pick is doing so much work for Fnatic. Even when Humanoid ults JeongHoon, he's still fine against leader.
Yeah, but you want to talk about picks, I want to talk about players. Because while the pick is doing good, there's one man who continues to impress, and that is Oscar on the top side of the map. Yes, his week 1 was disastrous. Yes, he's been getting better, but I did not think he could continue that trajectory forever. But in this game, he is playing so incredibly well. We can see why they didn't prioritize immediately counterpicking mid lane, why they prioritized taking away that cannon just so they could secure this Jax for him. Absolutely paying off. Those are just his week 3 stats, but if they're anything to go off of this game thus far, his week 4 stats are going to be damn good as well.
And that's all you need from a player when you commit resources in the draft to them. If you say, pick me Jax on 3 and give me 2 bans, I'll be able to win my matchup no matter what, then having that trust and then having the execution is all you need from a rookie in the top lane. He's only 100 gold ahead though, so despite Finn being down 0-2 and down in CS, the GP, the first strike, tower platings are helping him keep even. He will lose the 1v1 though. I think those Jax items are a bit absurd at the moment.
Definitely very strong. And it's really interesting when you look back to the game that these teams played in week 3, because while the bot lane was suffering, as they were in this game, Humanoid was on a tear with that LeBlanc. Part of the reason I think we saw it banned away ultimately was Fnatic, I think, over-forcing in that game that cost so much of the lead that they were to build for themselves. And now we're in a similar situation where it's Astralis who I think are the ones over-forcing a little bit. And I think this is a good read from Fnatic to say that we know Astralis are a team who like to be super aggressive. Let's draft the tools that can mitigate so much of these more aggressive picks and aggressive plays.
Definitely. I think this Tahm Kench is a huge thorn in the side for Astralis' champion pools in the way they like to play. I wonder if it's something they, even if they win, take away in the next game. But we'll have to wait and see. Kobbe is sitting on 2 items right now. Rekkles matching it, but he's still down almost 2,000 gold. Dragon in 130. Both teams looking at this Baron. Kobbe doesn't have flash yet, so it becomes really hard for him to walk up into this river. Fnatic have a lot of chain CC, and I think leader needs that second item. Needs to get towards that BT.
Yeah, BT could go IE as well. I mean, 2 items really for the Yone is where he's going to be strongest relative to the composition as we get later and later into the game. Yone doesn't fall off, but he's really reliant on hitting 3 4-man ultimates, because you can't just rely on out-healing or out-damaging in 2v2 or 3v3 skirmishes anymore.
I think ideally for Astralis, what they've realized now is maybe we should slow it down. We're taking too many fights. We're playing GP Yone Xayah. It's not going to hurt to give us a bit more time, get QSS on the Yone, get a couple more crit items on him as well with the GP too. So they're just trying to slow it down. They know Fnatic can't do Baron. They have got 3 blue orbs, so what you do as a team when you're behind is you invest more in blue orbs. They've got 3 now. They should be able to track the Baron pretty easily if they rotate them well. And they use JeongHoon as kind of like a face check when they push out these waves.
Yeah. I think the struggle here now is as we get later and later into the game, there's a world where Astralis, if you can find a pick onto Oscar, if you can find a pick onto Humanoid or Rekkles, these fights get so much easier for you. But while Oscar's new, Humanoid and Rekkles are such veteran players. They're good at playing side lane. They're good at not giving anything up in a lot of those instances. Now we see 1-1-3 overstaying a welcome on the bottom side. They're going to force out the flash, but traded for 2 ultimates now on the side of Fnatic.
Bit of a confusing move there. Trying to get vision on his own. Doesn't even have that many wards in his inventory. He doesn't have any, actually, unless he placed it down and it got removed. Either way, Rekkles ult and Humanoid ult is down. That actually means Astralis can fight.
Window of opportunity, forcing out the flash from Advienne. So at the end of the day, 2 ults traded for 1 ult and a flash traded on both sides.
To be honest, I think this gives Astralis a dragon. That walk in and that face check, the fact that they lost 2 of their biggest ultimates in the fight, does that mean that Fnatic just give it up? I think it is. Just going to push out top here as Humanoid.
Oscar's
could TP in though if Oscar... Yeah, he's TPing in. Actually, they do want to fight.
They're going to turn and burn. They know that the counter-strike is gone. They just want to give him a bit more space. That Maokai ult is not doing a whole lot. The leader coming over the wall, trying to follow up, trying to get all the burst damage down that they possibly can. Razork now taken out. Oscar is so damn tanky.
Oscar.
Can they finish the job? Kobbe now stepping forward. He's all on his lonesome. The shutdown. They've isolated him. Kobbe now walking forward. No fear whatsoever. Advienne trying to back up. Advienne trying to keep that AD carry healthy, but there is nothing left for them in this play. It is Astralis' dragon all the way.
2 big kills and they'll get the objective they came for. Sole point for them, but you have to wonder why Fnatic wants to fight that. They could look for a top tier 1 on a cross map. They don't have Lissandra ult, they don't have Varus ult, they're split. A bit confusing to walk in and try and contest. It's not like it's the end of the world. They can play for the next dragon. Didn't have great position, but yeah, Astralis quick to punish. They won't get a Baron off the back of it. You can see Advienne stayed on the map to put wards down just in case, but I think the 5v5 contest without ults can work if you're together. But the fact that they weren't together and they didn't have the ults just means nothing really came as they may have expected it. I mean, Humanoid TPing behind, but look how long it takes for him to get there. By the time he arrives, his jungler's dead, his top laner's in a 1v4, and he doesn't have ults, so he can't really threaten Finn.
And I mean, there's just no room for them to play. Kobbe setting up feathers onto Advienne. Rekkles has to face check a GP. He needs to auto-attack those barrels or they will take him out. And this is just much better positioning from the side of Astralis, punishing Oscar for being on that side and punishing Fnatic for overcommitting to that play. Now we'll have to see how Fnatic respond to this one. 5 members, or 4 members in the area. Oscar has TP, but Astralis are shredding this objective.
I think they want to fight here. TP coming in from Oscar. Looks like Astralis wanted the TP and wanted the disengage. Tank of the ult coming through. I think Fnatic might want to look for a fight. Rekkles has the ult, tosses it out, misses onto JeongHoon. And Astralis, I think they do want to fight. You know, Rekkles doesn't have flash. They burned all of these
Rekkles no
summoners.
ult, Razork no ult. Maybe an opportunity for Astralis. I guess they don't want to risk it. I guess they're happy with just the TP.
Yeah, that allows Finn to just go bot and kind of sit by his lonesome. There's no real threat of losing their bot tier 1 as well now. Because if Oscar overextends down there, Finn can TP up and they can fight before a Baron start. Maybe they're going to track the bases here. Need to get rid of some of these wards. And now we'll see how Astralis play the map out, because they do have this TP advantage. And it can be pretty big.
What are they going to do with it for now? As you called, Finn being sent to the bottom lane. And Fnatic maybe hoping they can find a pick here, but there's not really a lot of angles at this moment in time. It's once again Astralis. Oscar's on the top side. They could contest this, but Fnatic...
Oh, he's basing though. If he cancels that base, they can maybe contest this. Yes, he does. What's the health bar though?
TP now being matched. Are they willing to full commit on this one? They've burned the advantage that they had for getting that GP kill. There's so many feathers. I think they could just finish this. It's not really a 50-50 if they burst it at the same time. They're going to get it. Leader going to stop the play from coming through.
Oh my god. That stop right there from 113 and Leader and JeongHoon was perfect. The solar eclipse from Leona straight on top of the ultimate of Yone. Chain CC'd Humanoid and Razork, and they couldn't even walk in. So as much as it looked like a 50-50, Astralis, cool, calm, collected. They had that under control. Within a minute and a half time, they managed to get themselves a Baron, just forcing it in Fnatic's face and playing over windows.
And credit to Astralis for kind of righting the ship, for figuring out, hey, we're playing a little too aggressive, for slowing the game down, as you highlighted, for waiting for these windows of opportunity. One of the strengths of having double AD threats, in this case the Yone and the Xayah, triple if you count the GP as well, who wasn't on the take really, is you can stretch to that objective so quickly, leveraging that strength really well, punishing Fnatic for being uncertain around those plays. And this is something that, again, we talked about on Euphoria, where Astralis are a team who, if you're ever caught sleeping for even a moment, if it's to catch the wrong wave, if it's to position in the wrong place on the map, Astralis are a team who will try and punish you, and they have more than successfully punished getting this Baron.
They are very aggressive, aren't they? Even when they're down in kills, they just keep forcing and forcing and forcing, and if you give them one window of tempo or you just take one bad base, they're going to take an objective, or they're going to take a fight with the numbers advantage or force a TP. And now with this Baron, we'll see how the siege unfolds. Leader's pushed out top, has the TP. Looks like they're moving 4-man into this bot side jungle. Fnatic looking to contest, perhaps.
Death Rush. Leader nowhere in the area.
Yeah, pushing in his bot wave now. Pretty big. The next one is going to come in as well. They could use GP ult to zone them or the Sejuani one.
Try to burn through Razork. Razork very squishy with the phase rush, but CC not quite all connecting there.
Pressure point is mid though. I think Astralis are just buying time. If Fnatic go in, Leader will TP. If they don't, they'll get a tier 2 mid. It's a win-win for Astralis, and Fnatic are going to have to back off. They're going to lose the bot tower as well. Maybe they can defend this mid one actually. Leader not confident enough to step up, but it's a real dire situation.
Taking their time, slow, controlled game. And that's the thing about the Fnatic composition is if you misengage into them, it's so incredibly strong, but Fnatic have to be really careful about pulling the trigger on these engages. Leaders in the mid lane. Oscar has found the angle. Oscar, can you find the backline? Stepping in, looking for an opportunity, but there's no one there to back him up. They peeled back well so far. Now they're going to find one kill and be happy. The TP coming in from Leader. Leader going to fish for an angle onto the backside, but Razork is doing everything he can to keep that Yone away from his carry, and he will succeed. Leader trying to get something done, but Rekkles is firing back. Leader now making it out to safety. Fnatic do their best to hold the line. Astralis only losing JeongHoon in the process.
Yeah, Humanoid and Oscar on 1 HP. 20 seconds on this Dragon spawn. I think Astralis' position means they can rush it down. The question is, does Fnatic want to commit TPs? Yes, they do. 10 seconds on the spawn. Soul for Astralis. Can they get here in time? Razork is way too far away and has no smite. 113 trying to slow them down.
Ready to go over the wall. Leader no ultimate, but
Rekkles has ult in 4 seconds. He could be the game changer here.
Q stacked. They're backing away. I don't think they don't even need to flip this. This Drake does not matter to Astralis. Fnatic 5 members in the area should be able to take this one.
He has Q and he has flash here, 113. He can play for steal if he wants to. Leader's just trying to be a nuisance.
Going over, harassing, but that cooldown won't be up again. Oscar waiting over the wall. They're now just going to focus on Advienne. The Drake has been taken down by the side of Fnatic, buying themselves a bit more time. Oscar in no man's land, knocked up. Blast Cone. A little bit weird there, but he is going to make it out to safety. Oscar with the clean sidestep, but it will not be clean. It will be clean enough. The man's movement just does not stop, but where's he going from here? Ulti not going to connect. He just keeps sidestepping. You can't hit him. He's juking, you can't hit You can
stun as well.
You can hit him. They can hit him. Yes, they can hit him.
No more jumping there. No more wards left. Couldn't escape. Looking for Rekkles. Got his cleanse on the slow. So Astralis weren't even focused on that dragon. They were focused on the fight. They got a couple kills off the back end of it. Not the end of the world to give Fnatic that second dragon, but they won't translate it into any objectives. Oscar trying his best to run away. Fancy feet. But we'll see that again. 113, just look at his positioning. You can see Dragon at 5k, 113 engaging onto Tahm Kench, Qs him as well, so you know that they're just playing for fight. Leader's trying to commit with the flash as well. And I think Leader here with the blast cone looked a little bit funky, but what he's doing here is just taking it away from Oscar.
Yep.
Actually, as I say that, Astralis are still sieging.
Continuing to step forward, Humanoid is barely able to make it out of there. Leader's gonna be forced to snap back there on the Soul Unbound, and Astralis gonna have to back off on this push, but breaking that inhibitor tower makes it so easy in the future.
Interesting. I mean, they were sieging for about 3.5 minutes there, Astralis, on and off, including the dragon. Finally backing away. They must have a lot of gold to spend for Kobbe and Leader, but both of them lost Flash in that last fight. See if Fnatic can make wonders out of it. 1 minute 30 seconds on the Baron. Means our flashes won't be up for a 30-second to a minute window. Maybe they can look to punish that.
Oscar getting stronger. Looks like Xayah is potentially the next item to come out, trying to punish the very AD-heavy nature of this composition. Something that we did talk about in the draft, but of course Razork opting for no real tanky items here. Means he's not able to do too much outside of the Mythic there.
Kobbe melts through Oscar, you could see in the last fight, so he needs to be careful. No flash. Fnatic setting up a trap. If anyone walks up for that pink, they're about to get the chain CC of their life.
It's great. Generations of Fnatic players brought together by the Fnatic Death Brush.
There it
or
is.
Death Wall in this case. As they start to step forward, Oscarinin locked up before he can find his way into the backline, and immediately the turn comes out. Devour has been burned. Leader fishing for an angle forward, not going to connect on the Q there. Is going to hurt. Triple Barrel comes in, throwing a little bit of damage down as Humanoid, going to make his way out.
Yeah, really low HP here. Fnatic have to catch the waves. No TP on Humanoid, but he has to recall. Maybe Astralis want to go towards this Baron in 30 seconds, but Humanoid should be back in time for that. BT really close, being picked up here for Rekkles. A couple of ultimates used on the side of Astralis, but the Tahm Kench saves the day for Oscar, but you can see how squishy he is. Yeah. Instantly melt through. Leader went all the way to top and got that wave out by the looks of it. Made it so it's slow pushes, but I think they're looking for round 2 here, Astralis.
113 relatively low, all things considered. Does still have access to the Redemption as well as the Aftershock, so not too concerned. But Fnatic coming in, have to be careful about fighting in this choke. That goes for really either side.
Yeah. JeongHoon ults up in 5 seconds.
113 still stepping forward. I think almost begging for ults to be baited out. JeongHoon on the flank. E forward onto Razork. Gonna lock up one. Now Leader goes into the backside, but the ult does not connect onto anybody. They're trying to burn through Rekkles. Rekkles locked up. Rekkles taking out. They know there is no Tahm Kench Devour, so there will be no reprieve from the onslaught that Astralis are bringing into this jungle. Fnatic running for the hills. It was balanced on a knife's edge, or so it appeared to us, but Astralis had the trump card up their sleeves the entire time. They baited out the cooldowns. They made the play necessary, and now they will take game 1 in effortless fashion.
Yeah, 30 seconds on the respawns. There's nothing Oscar can do here. He's 1v5 with his ultimate, so I'll just jump in and try and get the wave because it's as good as over. There was a massive layer of chain CC onto Rekkles there with no cleanse. I think it was JeongHoon with the ult, so great bait out. Managed to get the kills. Nowhere for him to go. Couldn't even flash. And Astralis just so aggressive in this first game.
Yeah. And I mean, massive game 1, very back and forth early game. Absolutely the Astralis show on the bottom side of the map. Mid-game, Fnatic firing back, punishing Astralis for getting over-eager, but then Astralis taking a breath, slowing things down, playing it out so cleanly, forcing Fnatic to respond to them, and it worked out. And at the end of the day, the second that Tahm Kench Devour was gone, JeongHoon found the flank, they took the fight, and it just shows you how tense games can be against a composition like Astralis, is where if all their abilities are landing, your entire team is just dead.
Yeah, I think that dragon fight where Fnatic just walked in without the ults, and the TP behind was really split, that really put them so far behind to the point where it was really hard to recover. I think that they had the game in an even state where they could start fighting back, but they just can't go for those kind of plays. Astralis just punish you for it.
Yeah, and it's easy to feel like when you've gotten the flash that you've won out on the trade, but if your ultimates are down, and the next fight happens in the duration of those ultimates being down, especially when that ult belongs to 113, who overall is not the most critical member of the team at that point. It's just you didn't trade up until those ults are off cooldown again, and I think that
and they were so split as well.
Yeah, difficult.
Messy. A lot to think about though. Fnatic, I think their drafting was okay, maybe a bit more of a different damage share, but I expect them perhaps to go towards blue side now.
Yeah. Overall, I think perhaps our time here is done as we send it back over to the analyst desk for a thrilling breakdown here.
That was so dramatic.
I don't know why I did it like that.
It's like
you're excited.
I hope your time is not done. Your shirts, they look really amazing, by the way. What also looked amazing was Leader on Yone. Well, for the most part. And then not for a second. and then again. And I think that's a great way to describe just the game, Dagda.
Yeah, a little bit hit or miss, to be perfectly honest. Like, I loved how, like, at the beginning, I think Astralis played really, really well. We saw them get that bot lead, working really good for them. They're using that to get early skirmishes and kind of like playing out through Astralis want to. But I think then we got to see what Fnatic's composition could do into them, where the Lissandra was keeping herself safe. Advienne was on fire in these early 2 fights. Like, the fact he was so consistently able to devour key targets to keep them safe was insane. But then the wheels started to come off the cart, where I think that third dragon, they went in with 2 ultimates down, and it's just a completely different story.
Yeah, but that's why it worked in the early game. The enemy didn't have level 6 yet. There wasn't the Lissandra ultimate for Leader to be scared of. There wasn't the Tahm Kench for him. So it worked. They found the early skirmishes. Insane bot lane setup in the first 4 minutes of the game as well from Astralis. The way that Kobbe and JeongHoon once again played really elevated the early game for Astralis. And you can also see it here. They just skirmish so well as soon as they get bot lane priority.
Yeah, the Yone, I was asking you guys in the room, like, okay, well, nothing really happened with Yone, but the champions that usually are picked into them getting nerfed, of course, as the Azir, but there's not really that many reasons. It might just be perks and leader popping off today.
Yeah, I think it is just a pick that when you get these opportunities to bring it out, can do incredibly well, especially if you don't have someone that can push him out of the wave in mid lane. And leader being able to find these early skirmishes, got those 2 early kills, made him an absolute threat in these fights. But as you kind of rightly pointed out, Sjokz, the fact that we kind of got to see these missteps from him at times as well, like ulting the was it the Lissandra over the wall when they were trying to pick them off? There was just little missteps that were still there from Astralis that helped Fnatic capitalize. But unfortunately, when it got to the stage where it actually really mattered, it was Astralis who were coming out on top. Very similar to what we saw from the regular split as well.
And for a while there, it looked like it would be the inverse from when they last played, when Astralis was able to take over from Fnatic in the mid game. What were the tools that Fnatic had? You already called out Advienne, but what did they do that made the mid game team fights, the 2 that they won back-to-back, we're going to take a look at, go in their favor?
Yeah, well, first of all, I actually think that Fnatic's team fight or team composition going up against the team fight composition that Astralis had was really good, because you had 2 things. Astralis wanted to be the aggressor, and Fnatic's team composition was a sponge. They soak up the pressure and they kill you with their tools afterwards.
Steak. Do you remember that reference?
No, actually, no.
Never mind.
Okay. So you ult them with Lissandra, right? You have Advienne, and Advienne was huge on the Tahm Kench. So every time they go too deep and can't get out, and now you push back into them. And Astralis had 2 really insane team fights in a row where they just made that happen. Advienne specifically deserves so much credit for his ultimate. And Oscar as well had a phenomenal showing on the Jax.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it here from Advienne, right? The fact that he's able to get Rekkles out of the danger zone, stick him into a position where he's much more comfortable. And as you rightly pointed out, then Oscarinin being able to come back in, being able to set up the team fights. And I thought this was just really, really good play, especially for like when you get Razork with the Radiant Virtue, he's going to step things up. But here you can see again, just that little misstep from leader actually puts the Lissandra into Advienne, so he's able to set things up, and then you can get the quick turnaround. But this was the fight where, unfortunately, you end up blowing the Lissandra ult, you blow the Varus ult on the top side, and sorry, no, the next one is the one. But this is again just a really, really nice engage where it's okay. We can send Humanoid into the back line. We still know that we have Advienne to be able to support them. We don't have to worry about being over aggressive here, especially when you already see how much Astralis.
Once again, Advienne did such a fantastic job though, because he just has to stopwatch. He's there to soak up the pressure. Once again, gobble up immediately. 1-1-3 ultimate, useless. Leader ultimate, useless. Gobble, 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 gobble. Full turkey coming through here. It is perfect.
It was perfect for a while, and of course, it's great to see that the composition is working the way it's supposed to, but to Astralis' credit, you see them learn the lessons they have to throughout those fights and rectify the situation on a macro level.
Yeah, and I think actually looking at the macro level, that's really where Fnatic started to fall apart. Because I think when you look at, you get to this third fight here, where we've already just used 2 ultimates, you don't need to fight this. This is just a second dragon for Astralis, who would have been fine, but because you don't have the Lissandra ultimate going in, you don't have the Varus ultimate going in, Advienne isn't in really a position to help with the Astralis engage, you end up falling apart completely here for Fnatic. And you have an incredibly strong Jax. Play for sides. You don't have to play for team fights.
That's the thing, because look at the map state as well. Both side lanes are in your favor. Even going into this Drake fight as well, you made some mistake that cost the ultimate, but you were the team that suddenly got ahead due to how well you played some of the team fights. When it suddenly came to the fact that Astralis slowed down the game and there were no longer any team fights, Fnatic just looked a bit lost. They're like, why are you not running at us? What are we supposed to do now? And that was the big mistake for Fnatic. The macro level, as you say there, was really faltering, not just going for the cross maps where you can just take the side lanes or trade map sites. I think Fnatic just got lost in the fact that it works so well with their team fighting, and then when they're no longer with team fight, they're kind of just let Astralis doing their thing again.
And exactly. And it's really frustrating when you have Oscarinin that's 4-0. You've got this huge Jax, and you're just like, plunk him in a side lane. Just stick this guy where he can actually, okay, we push in, we use the pressure he has, we got push mid, get vision, look for those towers and make it work for us. That's where Fnatic could have found their advantages, but they completely let the ball slip.
It was the biggest issues they had when they played last time as well, and they're kind of showing again.
Showing again, and the individuals for Astralis showing up as a cohesive unit when it came to the later parts of that game. We're going to get the team comps behind me because, bombshell, Fnatic actually chose red side going into this next game, which is something that we don't see that often, but obviously they have a plan. Do you see it?
Yeah, and you already saw it in this game as well. It's not pick order here, but Tahm Kench came through as a 5th pick. And what we have here, but let's take a contrast to the first series we had. Bot lanes were picked immediately. This time around, it was the AD carries, but the supports were shifted so much down in the priority. You wanted to have them as late as possible because bot lane matters a lot. You saw it from Advienne with the Tahm Kench pick, but you also see it in the way that Astralis bot lane function. JeongHoon is so good when he gets priority, when he has the counter pick, and by going red side, you're not giving them that avenue.
And I also love the pivots that we've seen from Fnatic on red side, even in this draft specifically, right? Leader picks blue side 3, the Yone. They actually end up taking the Jacks and go, look, we don't mind if you actually ban any of these mid lane champions. We know we're going to be comfortable going into this matchup. They don't even ban the mid lane champions. They end up banning the Gragas in the top side, trying to make sure that this Jax is going to be comfortable that they picked up. And they still want to get Lissandra, to get the Tahm Kench. Really good answers into what was coming their direction from Astralis. So honestly, I think Fnatic's drafting has definitely stepped up and is a strength. It's just a case of being able to utilize all the tools that's there is going to be the big question, red side or not.
Yeah, because I agree. I thought Fnatic, genuinely, this was a draft that I wouldn't expect them to pilot when, well, they lost still, right? But they played well in some of the instances in this game. This was not what we saw in Rekkles season. This is very different. Still, they had the comfort on Sejuani, not Sejuani, but Razork, where he plays a facilitator. But Rekkles wasn't on a self-peel. You could add that through Advienne now, have the engage in some of the topside dudes instead. So I like the way that they kind of shift around how they get what they still want in a draft, albeit by different ways.
And might have the draft puzzle figured out, but unfortunately, Astralis feel like a more complete team right now. Is that fair to say?
I think so.
It's a bit weird. I feel like Fnatic have a really good read of Astralis in the early stages, right? Because you look at, like, even with the early leads that they got, Fnatic were still getting mid-push and then, like, trying to respond to plays that Astralis were making. And it was the same at week 3. It's the same in this game 1. But the problem is when it comes to mid-game, that's where it really falls apart. I think that's where the completeness really starts to hurt Fnatic, where they don't know how to play macro. They don't know how to set up for objectives. And it's coming back to bite them against an Astralis that's looked so good in team fights.
Yes, Astralis up 1-0. Let's see if they can finish it out or if we're going to game 3. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with game 2 of Astralis versus Fnatic.
Go front line, I think go front line. Hold Sjokz. I vault.
GP on the side, I stop him. Kill Leona. I get the barrel. No flash,
Yippee.
He has no flash.
No Xayah. Yeah,
Look at Yone.
I have nothing for Yone, I have nothing. No Xayah.
Slowly, you don't have to kill her. It's enough, guys. We got a lot, okay?
Press B, right now, press B.
Look here.
I can win.
I'm looking.
I'm look. Can I
Yeah.
Looking.
Lissandra ult. First.
Fight.
The bomb bot.
Look Maokai.
Go ahead.
Maokai no flash.
Just that.